Hi everyone, Joy here. So I want to talk a little bit about science deniers. Now, what this is science denial is when people have crackpot theories that have very little, if not any, evidence that is spurious, but they still hold these beliefs. And this applies to people who hold beliefs about, say, for example, climate change denying, or flat earthers, or hollow earthers, or homeopathy, or anti-vaxxers, or people who believe in snake oil, and people who peddle, just mysticism, or anything to do with alternative facts or fake news or just any of those things. So these people are illogical. Now what I mean by that is that they are actively using logic incorrectly. And when people have a certain worldview, and they are then confronted with new information, rather than incorporating this new information into that worldview that pre-exists and admit that their original assertions may have been incorrect and need to change, they create this cognitive dissonance by making these mental gymnastics to try and explain the new information with the pre-existing flawed worldview. So here's an analogy for you, okay? Say, for example, I was born yesterday, and I didn't know what birds were, so I had to ask someone, and they might take me outside and show me, I don't know, a duck. And the duck has a bill and two eyes and a tail and wings, and it, covered in feathers. And I see this duck fly, okay? Then later that night, they show me an owl and say this is also a bird. Again, two eyes, beak, wings, covered in feathers. And I also see this owl fly. Now I might incorrectly, but sort of logically assume that all birds fly because from what I've seen, the birds fly. But then on the next day, we go to a zoo and I get shown a penguin and I get told that this is also a bird. And if I had the science denial kind of mindset, instead of saying, oh yes, well this is true because, again, wings, beak, two eyes, covered in feathers, tail, etc., etc. If I had that worldview instead, I might be inclined to say, well no, penguins can't be birds because they don't fly. And all of the birds that I've seen so far fly, and these ones don't. They swim, therefore they can't be birds. And if I held on to that kind of mindset and that kind of argument, I would be illogical, I would be incorrect. But it is the same kind of misuse of logic and facts that the science deniers use. Now, I know this analogy might be a little bit laboured, but it is appropriate and it is accurate to that mindset of how people think, how people incorrectly use logic and inferences. And also, it's a bit of a strange example because I thought of it when I was in that sort of period of thinking of things whilst my head's on the pillow and I'm about to go to sleep. So it's a little surreal because of that. But it is true enough to say that that is how the science denier mindset works. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little analogy. I hope it makes sense. And the difference is, of course, that a belief in birds is totally different to a belief in, say, homeopathy or flat earth theory or climate change denial, because those things are much, much bigger. They have very real impacts on people's lives, usually negative. Well, in fact, always negative, in some way or another. But what I mean by that is it doesn't always directly harm people or even indirectly harm people, but a lot of the time it does. If someone believes in alternative medicine as the only way to go, then they can end up hurting themselves or other people and not getting actual proven treatments, at least alongside some sort of homeopathy or alternative medicine. Same thing with climate change denial. It's something that affects not just one person, but everyone around that person. So there's the difference. Consequences, negative ones. And the whole world has to live with the negative consequences of what some people refuse to believe despite being shown facts to the contrary. That's why it's dangerous, and that's why I made a video about it. Anyway, thank you for watching the ramble, and like I said, I hope you enjoyed the analogy. So I will see you next time. Got something very special lined up, and look out for that in about a week. But for now, goodbye. See you soon.